Hi, I'm Mariana Gomes. I'm a veterinarian. I'm also a UWC alum from Atlantic in '93. I've been involved with the Portuguese National Committee since I finished my degree and moved back to Portugal in 2000. And since 2020, I've been with the CNC, the Committee of National Committees, and I'm currently the new chair of the CNC as of the 1st of January of 2024. My older brother is actually a UWC alum as well, from Adriatic in '91, and we all found out about UWC more or less at the same time from the daughter of some friends. I also became very interested in having a similar experience and ended up getting placed at Atlantic. I think I was really lucky with my generation, with the time that we were at UWC, because we had just enough technology to be able to type up essays on a computer, but there was no social media, there was no email, so we were really completely immersed in the experience once we arrived at the school. I remember the big difference that it was calling teachers by their first name instead of being a Mr. Or a Miss, and that proximity really helped to develop relationships of support. Those moments are all treasures that I keep. It was an amazing experience, and one that still influences every aspect of my life nowadays, from the work that I do, from the voluntary work that I do, obviously connected to UWC, even to the way that I have raised my children. And I'm a mother of 7 children, and our eldest daughter is a UWC alum as well. Education as a force to unite peoples and to work towards peace and a sustainable future stems from educating ourselves to have a bigger heart and to have better understanding of others, of their needs, and of how we can help them and how we can all make the future better.
Can I ask you to congratulate yourselves once again for a fabulous, fabulous 1.5 days of work. Please give yourselves a huge, huge round of applause. Welcome to the closing plenary session of the 2024 UWC International Congress. This has been a lot of work, but I've experienced a lot of excitement at the same time. The UWC movement has truly come together to deliberate on the theme of education as a force. This journey began in September of 2023. We began with a plenary session on the 29th of September. We had 4 panels. Those panel discussions range from topics about how our national committees, the true jewel of the system, work in very, very far-reaching parts of the world to enable us to identify exceptional young people whose work will inevitably shape our world. That day we were joined by Gift Johnson, the National Committee of the Marshall Islands. We had discussions from members of the International Board's Education Committee. We discussed the theme of education as a force. We also were joined by representatives of our schools and colleges, UWC students and alumni. From there, we broke into a number of breakout sessions online. We had lots of pre-Congress discussions in groups. Many of you gathered at hours of the day that were really uncomfortable, but you were part of these discussions. We convened again on the 23rd of November. We had a discussion led by Dr. Lee Howell from Villas Institute, Fidelis Ntenge from the International Baccalaureate, Kathy Jones from UWC Southeast Asia, Maria Dang from UWC Atlantic, moderated by Vivian Feng, an alum of UWC Adriatic and member of the International Council. That day we discussed the theme of paradigm shifts for systems transformation. We carried on from there, had more sessions, more deliberations, and then we closed off our pre-Congress discussions on the 8th of February. We were joined by Dr. Guido Schmidt-Traub, we were joined by Ryan Finley, Abi Falik, the Kombili team from UWC Diligen, moderated by Ivana Situm, another member of the International Council. That theme was about leadership for a rapidly changing world. Over the last 6 months, you have all worked so hard to contribute to shaping the future of the UWC movement. And this last 2.5 days, we have convened here in Phuket and online to have even more deliberations about where the UWC movement goes from here. This closing plenary session is on the theme of ripples of impact, ripples of action. The goal here is to enable you to think about the roles that you will play in helping to take the UWC mission to all the parts of the world, the places where we are most needed. The work that we will do here and beyond this place to ensure that the actions that we take can ripple out into the rest of the world. For 62 years, we have built so much potential. It's time to break out and do all the things we've always thought we were going to do. Let's look at a few statistics that reflect the work that we have done collectively over this last few days. We're just going to put up some numbers on screen and just reflect how we got here together. I'll ask for the video to play. We've had 5 track discussions, 10 lead facilitators have worked with us, 15 breakout sessions. We've had 27 online breakout facilitators. We've had 34 unique questions we've grappled with, 61 workshop presenters. We have had 84 in-person facilitators, 457 in-person participants, and 3,148 posted captures. That is your work. This has been your Congress. This has been your work. And I hope you feel yourselves reflected in what this last 2 days have been all about. But we've not been the only ones who have been working here. I'd like to just give one more chance for us to just look at a very, very short video reel, just to put in more context what we have done here. And then I'll introduce the student delegates who have been a part of this. But let's just begin by taking a quick look, just some pictures that help you feel even more reflective of what we've done together. Let's go. Are you feeling nostalgic yet? Anyone ready for Congress to be over? No. While we've gathered here for this last 2.5 days, having all these discussions across all of our rooms, we've been enriched by the presence of students from across all 18 UWC schools and colleges. For the last month and a half, they have engaged themselves virtually in lots of discussions, thinking about how they can collectively advance the UWC mission in the various schools and across the entire movement. We began with 39 students across all the 18 schools and colleges and 20 campuses in total, 37 of whom have been with us. They've been in your breakout sessions. They've been a part of all the work that we've done. You've seen them on stage as well. But more importantly, they've spent some time together also working in their own parallel Congress. It's my pleasure to recognize all the student delegates who have been a part of this Congress, all 37 of you. Please join me on stage immediately, every single one of you. Please give them a huge round of applause, everyone. Don't stop until they're all on stage, every single one of you. Please continue until they're all on stage. Continue, keep coming. 2 rows. Carry on. Don't stop now. Thank you. When we talk about education as a force, this is what it's all about. These are the people who would take the voices of our movement in all parts of the world. They are the ones who would change the systems that we've talked about so much. I'll hand the microphone to them. They'll just tell us the names and the schools they've all come from in rapid fire. So I'm just going to give you the mic, your name, your school, go.
Hello, my name is Basukar Kende. I am from Ethiopia National Committee and I learn at UWC Southeast Asia, Singapore.
Lisha Lovely, Waterford Kamslava, UWC Southern Africa.
Hello everyone, I am Emira Husovic. I am from the National Committee from Macedonia and I am from UWC East Africa.
Victoria, Russian National Committee, UWC East Africa.
I am Marta Folk and I'm a student at UWC Isaac, Japan.
Eugenio Oliveira, Timor-Leste National Committee, UWC Southeast Asia, Singapore, East Campus.
Hello everyone, my name is Isak Sikira. I'm coming from Bosnia and Herzegovina and studying at UWC Mostar.
Hello everyone, my name is Lazar Medar. I'm from the Serbian National Committee and I'm currently studying at UWC Thailand.
Hi, my name is Leslie Nukumana. I'm from the Norwegian National Committee and I'm currently studying at UWC Red Cross Nordic.
Hello, my name is Ingrid. I'm from the Norwegian National Committee and I study at UWC Dilijan.
Hi, my name is Rezi. I'm from Finland and Hungary, and I study at Pearson College, UWC.
Hello, everyone. My name is Ahalia. I'm Canadian, and I study at UWC Adriatic.
Hello, everyone. I'm Manahil. I'm from the GCC NC, and I'm Pakistani, and I'm from Isaac, Japan.
Hello everyone, my name is Emilia Valdez. I'm from Mexico National Committee and I study at UWC SCA Dover campus.
Hello everyone, my name is Abigail Ochanda. I'm from Kenya and I study at Waterford Kamklaba, UWC Southern Africa, in SOT.
Hello everyone, I'm Valeria. I'm from Moldova and I am a student at UWC Dilijan in Armenia.
Hello, my name is Claire and I'm from Hong Kong and I study at Lipo Chen United World College.
Hi, my name is Elsa. I'm from the Norwegian National Committee and I also study at Lipo Chen United World College.
Hello, my name is Gabriela. I'm from the Brazilian National Committee and I study at UWC Atlantic.
Hello, my name is Esther. I come from Singapore in Italy, and I study at UWC Maastricht.
Hello everyone, my name is Muni and I study at UWC Robert Bosch College.
My name is Anh, I'm from Vietnam and I do it the Milky Way.
So hi everyone, I'm Tenzin, I'm from Nepal. I'm a first year student from United World College of Red Cross Nordic.
Hello everyone, I'm Ian Kilo, I'm from Tanzania and I'm from UWC East Africa.
Hi everyone, my name is Kaya from Eswatini. I study at UWC Robert Bosch College in Germany.
Hi, my name is Adriana. I'm from Ukraine, studying in UWC Mostar.
Hi everyone, my name is Lisa and I'm also from Ukrainian National Committee, studying in UWC USA.
Hi everyone, I'm Kitile from the Botswana National Committee. I study at UWC Atlantic.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Giftling Saylin from UWC SCA East Campus, and I am Ugandan.
My name is Gabriel Moyes Vandering. I'm from the Canadian National Committee, and I'm studying at Pearson College.
Hello everyone, I'm Isabella from Shanghai, China, and I study from UWC Changshu, China.
Ciao everyone, I'm Daria from Romania and I study at UWC Adriatic.
Hello everyone, I'm Ipek from Turkey, a rice scholar in UWC Costa Rica.
Hello, I'm Simon. I'm from Nicaragua and I study at Mahindra College.
G'day everyone, my name is James. I'm from the Australian National Committee and I study at UWC USA.
Sorry, I'm Danlan. I'm from China. I'm a first year of UWC Thailand.
Let's just give every single one of them one huge, huge round of applause. They'll now exit the stage, every one of you. Wait. We will have a chance to listen to two of our student representatives who would like to share with you some of the work that they have done for this last 2 months. So please welcome Laza Medan and Leisha Lovely.
Okay. Hello everyone. I am honored and excited to announce a pop quiz. You thought only the teachers could do this, but here we are, the students turning things around. Okay, so I think I'm going to offer up a prize. What's desirable in Thailand? Maybe some mango sticky rice. For anyone who can get this question right, I will buy you a serving of mango sticky rice. Okay. Who here can name one student-led project from each of the 18 UWC colleges? Yes? You want to give it a try? Sorry? No, one from each UWC. But well done, that was a good effort. I think we can all agree that that is an impossible task, and we can't either, and that's why we're here. We want to announce the International Student Group. So, I'm pretty sure every one of you has been to 2 UWCs by now, and if you haven't, I'm sure you still know that each UWC carries its own unique UWC spirit. And I've seen this beautifully traveling from Waterford Kamhlaba to UWC Thailand. Both are so unique, but each of them carry this innate UWC spirit. But currently that's kind of trapped within the boundaries of the college. And with this international student group, we aim to spread that out more and become more united as the United World Colleges. Since the beginning of the year, all of these 30-something student delegates that you've seen have been working together online to enact this student delegate project. And right now, our focus is on 3 main things. The first is to network, to create a framework for network and support for projects and initiatives that are student-led in each of the UWCs. And this is an online platform for students to interact if they feel passionate about a project and would like to share that with other students across the globe and spread the impact. Yesterday, Chris talked to us about the 24-hour race, and I know a couple of the UWC campuses do that already, and this is just one example of a project that can be shared across the movement. Secondly, we aim to pool our knowledge and our experience. This will be a platform for students from all colleges to ask questions of one another, because we don't have to learn the same mistakes over and over. We can learn from each other's mistakes and learn from each other's successes and make wiser decisions with this. This afternoon we had the Students Delegate Showcase, and it was beautiful and inspiring to see all of the beautiful projects that are happening across the campuses, and there's so much to learn from this. Lastly, the last one of our short-term aims is creating common commitments and goals for all student councils to strive towards within each of the UWCs. You know, we have these UWC values, and I think this will be a beautiful space to share how we can better reach those together as all of the UWCs together and strive towards them as students. One example that we were discussing in one of our meetings as students was on the 22nd of April this year is the upcoming Earth Day. And one of the UWC values is striving towards a sustainable future. And our idea was to create a sort of hand over the baton, 1 hour, no electricity on campuses, and in this way build a more united front towards the UWC values and towards our UWC action.
Thank you, Lisha. I think you explained our short-term values and goals really, really well. I'll talk a bit more about the long-term of this project, and we kind of split it into 2 separate sections. So the first one would be creating a continuous relationship between the student leadership bodies of all campuses. Now, I say student leadership because it really varies from school to school. Some campuses might have a student council and others might refer to it as student representatives. Either way, our goal is to connect these for a longer period of time so all the short-term goals can be reached over a longer period as well. And we want to build something that lasts. We want something that will be done and useful not just for the next year or 2 or while we're here. We want to build a project that will be lasting far after we leave UWC and after we become alumni, and that is something we're really striving for. And then also these connections, as Alicia said earlier, as we are United World Colleges, we should really seek to that, to really add to that union part and be really, really united. Now the second part is creating a joint voice of the students to the institutions of UWC, such as the schools, and allowing us to give more direct input into steering the UWC body. Now, the thing is, already students are a very important part, and we are aware of that. They are a very important part of the decision-making process, and everything that is being done here is already being done for the sake of the students that are upcoming and the students that are already here. And we acknowledge that very well, but we see another way to work towards this is to create a way for students to communicate the large suggestions to the people who are making the decisions directly and give this input directly instead of having it go through various channels, which will cause a lot of it to maybe be lost. And it's also very valuable because it'll enable these institutions to also directly address the students in a very organized manner, very quickly about these various projects or ideas or concerns that the student bodies might have. Now, I'm going to talk about the structure a bit of this this group because it's very important that it works properly. Now, we will be having meetings bi-weekly, held, so every other week we will meet together. The two democratically elected representatives of each UWC campus will meet. Now, how they will be elected, we leave up to the campuses themselves because we think it's very important that each school has the agency to choose their representatives by themselves instead of us telling them how they will choose them. Now we also will be working closely with the heads group, the heads of the various schools, in order to achieve as much as we can. Now, on a closing note, I'd like to talk about how this ties into the longer UWC strategy in general. Now, there's been a lot of talks recently about creating close relationships between the various schools and institutions within UWC, and I think this really will help foster that even further. Now, we hope that in the 6 years, when we meet once again, there will be a different group of students speaking here on the behalf of this student group that will be talking and sharing what within these last 6 years they have done. Now, we would like to open up the floor for some questions, if anybody here would have any.
I'll recognize 2 hands together, and we'll take 2 minutes maximum to respond to questions. So I'll just see if there are any hands in the hall. 2 hands maximum. I see 1 hand, and I'll wait for a second. One over there. Can we please get a microphone to her over there? Just 1 question.
Thank you for your presentation. One of the things we as heads hear from students is how stretched they are and how stressed. So I ask you, what is the power behind this idea that you have to connect students from across the campuses? What is the why that makes it important enough to get past the worries about stretch and stress?
Thank you very much. Hold that thought. We've got a second question over there.
Thank you. This is super exciting. I just wondered if you had thought about how you are also going to encourage representation for the younger students within UWC and whether you could feed that into your design and if that's something you already have thought about.
All right,
Thank
both
you.
questions together, rapid fire. Come on.
So, the first one. We'll first answer the first one. Why this is very important is because it'll create a space for students to connect with each other and create, before really addressing anybody else, create a space for them to help each other in creating projects that will also ease off this stress that is already present. We'll work together. Apart from other things, it'll allow for greater focus on well-being by the student initiatives. It'll allow for student initiatives such as something about mindfulness to be implemented on a higher level and across all campuses, which will definitely alleviate a lot of the stress that the students might have. So that is a reason why it'll be very important and useful. Now the second question, Alicia, would you like to answer that?
Both of us have younger students at our schools, And from my perspective at Waterford, I think that younger students are already represented through the Student Council in that we have representatives throughout the school bringing the news and the issues to us, the Student Council heads. And from that, we do have that feedback. And these students can also be engaged on the platform. It's not only for IB students. This can also be made available for younger students. So we're in no way blocking off those important parts of the school.
Another important thing is we will definitely use this to promote the idea of expanding the movement for younger students to actually be able to take part in the UWC movement and start from an earlier age. I know a lot of schools are already looking into expanding into the younger ages, and now the schools that are currently already have younger students, such as UWC Thailand and UWC Waterford, they can definitely help the other schools and the other student councils, to be specific. This group could help the other student councils find ways to engage with those younger groups when the other colleges actually do expand and get more younger students.
All right, please appreciate Laza and Lisha. Thank you very much. As we come to this plenary session once again to think about what we do with our commitments and what we've achieved here together, I'd like to recognize and invite two people who have been transformational for us over the last couple of weeks. You might have seen them walking across some of the breakout sessions. You may have seen them around. These two gentlemen have helped us shape everything that you've experienced in your breakout sessions, through the plenaries, through the workshops. They are both expert design thinkers, founder, co-founder, and alumni of IDEAL, the global leadership design team. Please join me in welcoming John Ravitch, and join me in welcoming Eric Domingo.
Thank you. All right. Do you know what I have right here? Do you know what number Post-it note this is? 3,149. Okay, I'm just checking here. Thank you for having us. We have had an amazing time over the last 6 weeks getting ready for this exact moment in time. But before we go any further, I'd love for Eric to introduce himself a little bit, because this guy was born to do the work that we've been doing the last 6 weeks. Eric, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thanks, John. Eric Domingo. My background is as a designer, and I've worked on what's called UX design as well as service design. But following that, I helped to design and run a design thinking capability program that allows people to both learn about human-centered design as well as help them to apply it in their day-to-day. And I personally have understood the role of education and how that's helped me to get to where I am. I also, these days, apply everything that I've mentioned into things like designing the workshops that many of you participated in, so that people can both understand, explore, as well as co-design around problems that they're trying to solve.
Great. So, most of you have been through some of these workshops. You've chose your track, you went through a workshop, you went through the breakout sessions. They were all designed from the ground up. There was a blank piece of paper. Faith and the amazing Radha called us 6 weeks ago and they said, we need to get going on this. We don't have a lot of time. Let's see what we can do to design a bespoke experience for these folks coming from around the world. It kicked off yesterday, it launched yesterday, and you might have seen Eric and I scampering around. We went to, on the first day, 14 sessions in 75 minutes, which means we got our 10,000 steps in, we got to see all of you, and we also got to observe a wonderful phenomenon, and that was people rolling up their sleeves, engaging deeply in their chosen topic, and going as deep as they could, and also, over the subsequent sessions, evolving their approach and coming up with some new emergent thinking. And what Eric said to me was, This is really interesting. We're in a position to cut across all this work. Everybody's going deep, deep, deep. But look at us. We're the only two people here that get to see the whole kit and caboodle. So what we thought we'd do is actually kind of recreate a little bit of that magic for you now by asking each of the leads to come up and share a little bit about their track with you. So think of it as a light touch horizontally, across all these tracks so that we can leave this room today with just a better understanding about these 5 topics. Nothing's conclusive. I mean, they just finished an hour ago, and we've asked them already to come up. As you may have noticed, if you were in the sessions, we had scribes, we had post-it notes, we had leads, we had the amazing Sylvie, who's over here somewhere. Sylvie, can you stand up for a second? Sylvie held down the fort. I mean, she dealt with an amazing, complex online experience that was running 24/7 with hundreds of participants. And she is an amazing force of nature, as I think many of you already know. Thank you, Sylvie, for all of your wonderful work. So we'd like to recreate the scenario, this light horizontal touching right now. We're going to ask each of the groups to come up and share their collective wisdom about what they've seen on the fly, starting with group number 1. Boop, boop, which is around curriculum, teaching, and learning with Kathy and Khalid. Come on up. Hello. All right, so here's how it all works. These people have 4 minutes. Oh my God. To tell us their names, and obviously to talk a little bit about what track they were in, and just to share some of these high-level insights about where there was cohesion, where there might have been a gap, and hopefully where there might have been like a woo-ha moment of like, hey, there's something out there that we really got excited about. So with that, over to you.
So I'll start. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Khalid Al-Mittal, head of Adriatic.
I'm Kathy Jones from UWC Singapore on the East Campus.
So just before I give you a very, very quick summary of the process, I'd like to give a huge shout out to all the participants, those in person and online, because Kathy and I had the privilege of going around and listening to some of the ideas, and quite frankly, they were just inspirational. Incredible excitement and engagement with all the sessions. So thank you very much. And then also to the 18 facilitators who were here in person, as well as those that were online, again, who shepherded and guided the different sessions and got the most out of the participants. So the process that was followed, the starting point was the UWC curriculum model. I don't know how many of you are actually familiar with it. Sometimes it's referred to as an onion. You can look at it in terms of concentric circles, and at the heart of that, you have the idea of student engagement and deliberate diversity. Do you know what I'm talking about, or?
God, I hope so.
Oh, I hope so too. But, so we started with that model because we wanted to acknowledge the work of the head teachers, actually, who put it together. I think it's about 10 years ago. They were tasked by the International Board to try and articulate what the UWC experience, educational experience, is about, and they put that model together as a diagram and obviously as an explanation. We moved from that point to looking at how that model is currently being enacted in the different schools and colleges. And there were many ideas and many examples of how different aspects of that model are embodied, really, in the life of the schools and colleges. And from there, we spoke about, well, maybe if this is the model as it stands, what are the things that are missing, given all the talks that we've heard today and yesterday about how the world is changing, how the challenges that we are facing are very different from the challenges that existed in the 20th century, and therefore, does the model still capture those? And finally, we finished by an exercise in ideation, thinking, well, how can we do things differently? And again, some very exciting ideas came out of that. So that was basically the process over the 3 sessions which took place yesterday and today.
And I'll just pick up and just want to acknowledge as well the thoughtful discussions that were held in all of the 3 breakout rooms and sessions that we attended. But there were 3 things that really struck me as being things that were cohesive amongst all of those groups. The first one was the energy and the passion for education, but in particular, an education that was innovative and always questioning of itself. Are we doing the things that we say we're doing? How are we doing those things? How might we do them better? And I think that that was something that came across in terms of lots of the schools, how there are already innovative practices being looked at, new programs, people who've adopted the CP. In so many of the schools and colleges, innovation and new ways of doing things is already happening, but we also wanted to look at other ways that we might do that. Something else that was very strong and cohesive across all of the groups was that we continue to be a values-driven education model. We see that both within the current students that we have in our schools and colleges, but also in our alumni, that those values continue, and we want those values to continue to be central. And finally, something that really emerged for both Khalid and I was the way in which all schools and colleges, either intentionally or just through the structures and the experiences, create opportunities for students to develop leadership. And this was just very evident across all of those sessions.
Nice, lovely. Thank you. You have 37 seconds.
37 seconds, oh wow. So just a couple of things that were mentioned in terms of what perhaps the model needs to change into. So one of the key comments that was made was that the model as it stands is too static. It's obviously incredibly difficult to capture the richness of a UWC experience in any kind of two-dimensional model. And yet we felt that it can be perhaps enhanced with the idea of a multi-dimensional approach, looking at the key concepts, the key elements that are currently included in that model can be looked at from different levels, from the perspective of the individual, from the perspective of the community, and from a global perspective. And I think another aspect that we talked about is how these are interconnected. So the interconnectedness of those elements is not in any shape or form represented currently. We talked about also intent versus capability, and that should sound familiar because we heard it this morning. Students come with idealism, but then the pragmatic side of that, trying to put that into action, requires skills, requires knowledge, and the skills and knowledge need to be articulated a bit more specifically. And we felt that, or the participants felt, that this is something that we can certainly work on, going from the abstract to the more specific. Experiential learning was also highlighted. Experiential learning obviously is key to the UWC education experience, and it exists in very, very clear ways in certain spheres of that experience. However, one area where definitely some work needs to be done is in the academic side of it. How does experiential learning live in the academic strand of the education model?
And finally, from me, one of the sort of wild ideas that came out was perhaps we need to look at the 2-year IB program in different ways. One of the structures which might allow students to demonstrate the competencies, we talked about perhaps we need some UWC competencies that we all agree, might be a model where students study from August of DP1 and finish their exams in December of DP2. That, of course, would mean some restriction of the curriculum. But that would give from January through to June the opportunity for students to demonstrate the knowledge, skills, and competencies that they had learned in a more academic and theoretical way, and actually make those practical. And students would actually be able to enact their learning and their experiences. So that was just one of the ideas that we really liked.
Lovely, thank you. Thank you, the curriculum teaching and learning team.
Thanks, guys.
Kathy and John, you are rock stars. Next up, we have John and Mariana talking about admissions. Welcome, nice shorts. Well done, my God.
Can I wear them tonight?
Yes. Buy you a drink. Okay, are you guys ready?
Yep.
Cool. Hi, my name's John. My pronouns are he, him. I've been learning at Waterford Camp Harbour for the last 22 years. I am the right-hand man of Mariana to my left, who is an Atlantic graduate on the Portuguese National Committee and Committee of National Committees. So, we are in the admissions track 2, the largest track. We had 24 facilitators, 5 scribes, many people online. We'd echo Khalid's acknowledgement of all the great work that was done, and also by our student ushers from UWC Thailand. Thank you, getting everybody in from their coffee. Thank you very much for doing that. So we investigated 3 things. Deliberate diversity. We explored UWC admission strategies around our deliberate diversity. We looked at equity in admissions, leveraging emerging technologies and innovative solutions. And we looked finally to affirm our commitment, working collaboratively and effectively for admissions and onboarding success. Throughout that, we were looking at 3 key words: raising awareness, improving alignment, and building aspiration. So that was the easy part. Over to Mariana for the difficult.
Okay, so it's a really broad topic. Admissions actually covers the moment you get the information out to the population and reach your potential target of candidates to the time when they're actually feet on the ground on campus at the school. So very difficult to capture just in a few sentences. But when we talked about deliberate diversity, definitely from the side of the national committees, there is commitment to looking at deliberate diversity and working at that and everything that that means in the cross-section of the societies in which we find ourselves. It also means that as national committees, we need to work on the capacity to support the candidates that we are looking for that represent that deliberate diversity from the moment they apply, because they may need that support through the application process until the time that they finish, and sometimes even beyond their UWC experience. Inevitably, the subject of technological tools, do they help us to achieve that deliberate diversity, or do they hinder access to our application platforms and to the way that we carry out selection? It ends up being very individual to the national committees, to the areas and to the communities that they are catering for. Again, and underlining what John was saying about the importance throughout this entire process of there being strong collaboration between the national committees, the selection teams of the national committees, and the admission sides of the schools, with very well delineated, very clear processes and procedures so that everyone knows what they need to do in the next step to ensure that their students have the best onboarding and really are able to hit the ground running when they reach their UWCs. We can't talk about deliberate diversity without addressing what is probably the first line when we talk about diversity, which is the gender imbalance that we see at some of the schools. And it's something that we all have to try and figure out together how to address that. And it needs to be addressed at every stage, from promotion through selection, through the different interview procedures, etc., that NCs carry out, and finally then at the admissions side and how they are carried through the schools.
Great, and just to conclude, we agreed that the sort of key word that kept resurfacing was access. We felt there wasn't enough talk about access, which seems a bit crazy when you're talking about admissions. Historically, thank you. Historically, I think some national committees, some selection processes have not been enough about access. So we need to be more inclusive. We need to not only think about access for students, but what about access for people that want to join your national committee as volunteers but may not be alumni? Let's think about that. Let's think about access to technology. Let's think about access between one national committee and a college, or a college and a national committee, where there may be very personal, deep, long-standing relationships, but how is that equitable? How does that build equity in the system if our partnerships are based on personal relationships rather than fairness and equality across the system?
Yeah.
Well done. Thank you both. On time. Nailed that. Oops. Okay. Leave that there. And next up, we have well-being with Sonia and Adam.
Hello, everyone, and greetings from the Wellbeing track. I'm Sonia Rawat, head at UWC Mostar, and this is my colleague Adam Hermansky, the head at UWC Dilijan. Adam, would you like to tell us what the track was about?
Sure. Sonia and I had the pleasure of following the discussions in track 3, whose focus was on well-being. And usually in the context of a school, when you say well-being, you mean or imply the well-being of students. And sometimes you add teachers. But what was different this time was that people talked also about the well-being on NC members and its significance in the entire process. So, yeah, clapping is definitely in order. And we talked about the current practices at our schools. We shared best practices. We also talked about the future and how we can implement some of these practices in other schools movement-wide and make it better for everyone at all schools. So Sonia will tell you about what we are doing well, and I will continue with other things.
Yeah, that was a really nice part, that we recognize that we are already doing some things quite well. I believe that in the Congress, the last time that it was held, maybe well-being was not something that was discussed at this level, and this time it has been a whole track. And I'm hoping that the next time there's a Congress, that there will be a huge plenary like this, which will be only focused on well-being and what we have achieved and what more we can do. So what we recognize as what we're doing well already, I think one thing obviously is that almost all schools, colleges, NCs, everybody, the IO as well, have policies and procedures in place that were not there for a long time. So they're related to safeguarding or RDI or many other things related to well-being. In addition, it was clear that people are willing to engage in conversation about well-being. That was also very good. And like our students shared a little while ago about wanting to be more connected, increasing connectedness, this is something that is beginning to happen where well-being is concerned in the movement. So at the IO level, there has been collaboration. There are discussions with staff about safeguarding, about well-being, about mental health professionals together, sharing a platform and sharing best practices, etc. And that's something that's happening very good. One of the really good things that was shared, and constantly in the online pre-conference sessions as well as in the sessions now, has been that the peer listener or the peer support system that almost all schools and colleges have is greatly appreciated and doing quite well. There's just one more thing that I will share as a good practice that we realized is happening in Norway, which is they have a CARE system, which stands for campus ownership and responsibility, where they have to, each student has to choose one care. What are they going to do on campus to take care of the campus besides the CAS activities, like taking care of the laundry room or shoveling the snow? And we thought that was a great practice that is happening. Adam, over to you for gaps that we might address in the future.
Yes, so we have identified a few areas where we need to do some more work. One of them is in how we help our students grow in resilience, because we seem to uniformly agree that we all see a drop in that quality. And we all have our own ways of doing that and supporting students, but how can we do that on a larger scale and more effectively? Another thing that came up in both online and face-to-face conversations, and we heard that in the plenaries and we heard that in the corridors here as well, and that's about the use of devices, of the internet and social media and the damage that they can make to both academic performance, but more importantly, well-being, students' confidence and well-being in general. I've already mentioned well-being and sustainability in national committees that we think needs more attention. We also need to look at systems, more efficient systems of providing information from parents to NCs to schools already on nominees' well-being and potential mental health problems. And then once the students arrive at the campus, we need to be equally good at communicating back from schools to NCs to parents. We also, in between sessions, met with Sonia to look at our notes, compare our notes, and look at what we have in common and also what we can do in the future. So there was wild ideas. And we have a few that we're going to share with you in no particular order, but there's one that we want to start with because that's a really wild idea. So the idea is to go to Thailand for 4 days. That will improve everybody's well-being. But we can already check that box, I think. And we can move to the other ones. So an idea from a school was to include a proper, fully developed well-being report, not just an academic report. Swap possibly the first lesson with breakfast in order to ensure that students don't miss that important meal during the day. Cleaning parties. Cleaning parties was another idea, but peer support training for all teachers, something that we do for students, but perhaps we can include teachers in that as well. So the ideas we've shared with you came up more than once, but there were two post-it notes that I saw that I'd like to very quickly share with you now. And one of them I would call a warning, and the other is perhaps advice or recommendation. So that warning is that in our attempts, in our work towards improved well-being, let's be careful not to end up in a situation where access to challenge becomes a wild idea. So that's one thing to remember.
Great. Thank you so much.
Yep.
Wonderful job.
Okay.
Thank you.
And just very, very quickly, because I think it's very important and people will appreciate that. When we leave this Congress, we will come up with action plans that will take some time to implement, and then we'll probably need to wait a little longer to see the outcomes of that. And there will be people who will say that there are no resources for that. But there was this one post-it note that said, model the behavior you want to see. And that's something we can start implementing on Monday without having any budget for it. Okay, thank you.
Nice, thank you. Thank you very much, Sonia and Adam. Well-being. Next up, financial sustainability. All right, we're coming down to the end. We have just 2 left.
I'm Mark Hadi. I'm the Chief Advancement Officer of UWC USA.
And I'm Amantia Mohedini, member of the International Board and Red Cross Nordic alumna. So financial sustainability, We looked at 3 very interesting and exciting areas, but really, to put it in short, the goal of today for our track was to address that question of someone not saying there are no resources for that. And put a little less succinctly, perhaps, the things that the track looked at was, firstly, creating a shared and common understanding of financial sustainability for the movement. We focused specifically on alumni giving as an area of focus, and then we established, again, a shared commitment on a wide range of strategies and ideas that can be pursued towards this goal.
So there were, in the course of the last couple of days, there were 3 overarching themes that emerged that I just want to cover, and then Amantia will give us some specific examples that came out of that. And they're going to be kind of, I'm going to frame this in the 3 C's here. So the first one is context, and I have notes here so that I remember the third one. So the first one is context, and it's acknowledging that we're all operating in very diverse, different environments, different constraints and different challenges on each of our campuses. And so I think that was, out of that acknowledgement is also an opportunity that we're all have different models that we're working from and can share that. The one that really emerged, though, just in terms of that we share in common as far as our context, is the common challenge that our movement is built on philanthropy. And so we really wanted to acknowledge that and start to think about that. So we had 2 different areas, the second one being connection, and that is thinking about the power of the movement and how we can harness the movement for lifelong engagement, and that came out through some of our speakers as well. And connecting UWCers, not just within their schools and with their discrete alumni network, but across the colleges, and especially young alumni. And how can we start to frame the expectation and the journey, and we heard that actually here from some of our student representatives, to be able to be forming an identity as UWCers first, and not UWCers of a certain school. The second, and then the third thing, the third C here, is collaboration or convening. We had 2 aspects to this. The first one is that, especially as alumni, we often look back nostalgically at our experience, but what we want to think about is how do we look forward as alumni and to be able to convene alumni around the topics of the day. We certainly, we heard that from speakers yesterday, and thinking about what are the topics that we can bring to bear, what makes it really relevant, what makes our experience at UWC relevant. And then the second part of that is about fundraising, collaboration, and convening across our campuses. And really, I think that was kind of one of the more radical ideas, is really starting to think about fundraising as a movement and fundraising across campuses rather than thinking as fundraising within discrete campus communities.
Indeed, so for some more specific ideas, there are lots of things which we do well, and our keen awareness of our context and diversity is a thing that we do well. Some good examples of how this is happening is specific schools doing affinity or topic-based giving campaigns around raising for young girls in a specific region, for example. That could be scaled as something that we do well. Another thing that we do well with regards to alumni is specific cities or schools creating alumni engagement that is not NC specific or college specific. It just may be location, place-based specific. And so those are things which we do well, but there are still some gaps. One gap is that these things exist, but they're not scaled enough. And so that's just one thing that we can perhaps easily share and learn as we collaborate more. Collaboration, again, is a core part of this house that we're continuing to build on financial sustainability. Another gap that we identified is, and this goes to that second point of lifelong learning, that our students who then become young alumni perhaps feel a little disconnected from the movement. And so we have an opportunity here, before going to alumni and asking them to give money, to actually systematically engage them and maybe think about the idea earlier from today of the short courses for alumni, or lots of other things around this concept. So financial sustainability needs perhaps some investment back into our alumni first, so that they can pay back in financial terms. And then finally, again, on this idea of what is the radical concept here that we're perhaps articulating, that I think has been floating around UWC for decades. Maybe we're at a turning point. We can articulate ourselves more as a movement in financial terms, in fundraising terms. And then the wild idea to implement this, wild. Maybe we need a database.
Wow.
And now while this...
That is big.
Big, it's been discussed for decades. Perhaps this is the time that it can happen, and there are specific concepts that we can apply, like a shared uwc.org alumni email for everyone. Makes it much easier to organize. So lots of things that we can actually implement here, simple things that can actually result in radical change.
Wonderful. Thank you both.
Amazing. Thanks, guys.
All right, our last team is coming up. I think you know them well. Karma and Manolo, to talk to us about educational leadership and partnerships. This is our last of the 5 tracks, and then Eric's going to have 1 or 2 wrap-up comments.
Hello, thank you
Hello.
so much. So I had the pleasure of working with Manolo in 2 rooms. So we were one of the smaller tracks, but boy, did we do some good work. And I think it's important maybe up front to say that the title of our track was Education, Leadership and Partnerships. And I think in the room that I was in, one of the most kind of seminal parts of the discussion was actually brought to us by one of the heads who was facilitating to say, educational leading is partnership. No institution is going to be expressing meaningful leadership without partnerships. So let's swap the and for the is. So thank you, Malcolm, for that thought.
Nice.
Which I think was very important in framing the discussion in the room that I was in. So for 3 sessions, that helped to frame the discussion. So I'm Karma Elliott. I'm currently the chair of the board at UWC Thailand. I have been with the movement for 4.5 years and formerly on the international board, college president in UWC SEA, and the very proud mother of a soon-to-be graduate from UWC Thailand. I will pass to Manolo.
My name is Manolo. I'm the vice chair of the International Council, was a board member at UWC USA, where I graduated. I'm a proud father of a Maastricht graduate and an RBC graduate. And with that experience, I look across the movement. I look beyond one school. And so talking about partnerships for educational leadership was something that we're very interested in. To talk about one thing that we discussed, what we're doing well, we're very good at partnering internally, and that's with NCs and schools, and also finding local institutional organizations for our schools, for our students, and beyond. And because it appears externally, internally we may see the flaws and the weaknesses, but externally it looks like we're executing very well. What that means is that we get trust from these other organizations, and that should embolden us to have more bold partnerships because of that trust, because of the execution success that is visible to folks outside of the NCs, outside of the schools. So we talked about how we can use that trust and past success to make a bolder ask and bolder partnerships. We did talk about a gap, and it was very similar to what Amantia and Mark just talked about, that if we want to strive for UWC leadership, we need to embrace UWC alumni engagement with proper resources to support alumni efforts globally. We have amazing, energized alumni groups all over the world, but they ultimately need more support. They are all run by volunteers, and perhaps we need a strategic priority, a paradigm shift on how we engage alumni and how we resource those efforts beyond just relying on schools and colleges to do that. An engaged alumni base is a powerful network aligned for that UWC leadership, but we need to make it a strategic priority and fund it as a strategic priority.
Thank you. And maybe just to add one other thing that is a potential gap, but I think I can see already how we're connecting the dots across all the different tracks. So we've gone horizontal, but we're going to get up soon and start connecting.
It's about
those
horizontal.
dots. And I think, one theme in the track that the sessions I was part of was around communications in its broadest sense. And one of the things that was seen as being a bit of a gap, for example, is with the alumni and databases and so on, how do we bring the voices of those who are advocates for the movement, so our friends more generally, to the fore around that their role in advocating for us and creating that ripple effect as well. So communication in its very broadest sense is part of all of what we're talking about. And I think I'm left with providing...
You've got 30 seconds to tell us your wild idea.
Wild ideas. So we looked at wild ideas perhaps more from the point of view of sort of catalytic ideas. So what could really give that spark that's going to catalyze all of this discussion? So the first one was, we've been nominated twice for the Nobel Prize. How about we, find a way of nominating ourselves for other similar prizes as a fantastic way, again, a sort of communications channel, but how powerful that could be around advocacy. The second one is, if I may, I was asked for only one, a sort of wild thing, but I'm committing to setting up a Scotland NC, National Committee. A bit of a challenge. I will talk to the UK NC about how we might do that. But I think it's very important to really think about that as how I might continue to contribute, and I think that there's potential to really learn from so many of the NCs and part of the discussions that have come from here. So that is a really wild thing. And don't shoot me down.
Who wants to go?
Don't shoot me down. I will speak to the UK NC, and we're not independent country yet, but one day we may be.
Wonderful.
Wow.
Okay.
That's amazing.
Thank you.
Thank you, John. Thank you,
both.
Domingo.
You're very welcome. Just leave that on your chair there. There it is. 5 tracks in record time. And as you know, 2 days, hours and hours, and just tons of exchange, summarized beautifully by these wonderful 10-track leads. A round of applause for all 10 of them, please. And now, Eric, I think, have 1 or 2 thoughts for us.
Yeah, it's amazing to see all of the starting insights that people have started to come up with and the themes, and this is often what happens when you run workshops like this and you get to see all of this output. Something that we're going to do moving forward is to continue this sense-making exercise and continue to look for the themes and insights and see what is it that we can action, see what is it that we can move forward with.
And that starts tomorrow at 9:30 when everybody's out scuba diving, right?
Yes, indeed. Now, in the last breakout session for the second half, you all had an individual exercise, which I'm going to get into, and Karma actually has just started with a good kickoff for that in terms of talking about a commitment and a personal commitment. And I know that we've learned a lot of things here at the Congress, but when we get back to our day-to-day, often the question is, what are we going to do? What are we going to take and put into action? And often writing down and articulating something like a personal commitment is really helpful for that. So it keeps the momentum going, it maintains your clarity, and it enhances your engagement. But also along with that, sharing your personal commitment also helps to energize you a bit more. It also helps you to see, other people's similar challenges and opportunities, and it's also a way to build deeper engagement. So I'm going to want you guys to think about and remember what you guys wrote down for your personal commitment, and I'm going to want you to share it with each other in a minute. But before we get into that, I'm going to share a personal commitment that I had just come up with because I feel that I should give everyone an example. Now, some of you that I've met, so many amazing people here, some of you have gotten hold of my contact info, which I provided to you. And so what I want to say is that, being a friend of UWC now, a new friend of UWC, is that I want to commit to personally providing any time or expertise around design or workshops or any kind of support that I can do.
I will text you his phone number.
I feel that this is an amazing place to give back into a space of education, and if there's anything that I can do to support that, I would really love to do that. So that is my personal commitment, which I am articulating to all of you. And now I want you to think about your personal commitment, what you're going to do when you get back to your day-to-day. Turn to somebody next to you, a neighbor, somebody maybe you don't know really well, and we're going to have you guys just with each other, among each other, discuss what is it you plan to do when you get back from Congress.
That's excellent. You did a great job. Okay. People, I hear commitment. So before Faith comes up to close us out, would anybody like to share their commitment? Or your neighbor's commitment? Would anybody like to share their commitment? Raise your hand.
There we go.
Okay. We have one commitment over here. Sir?
All right.
Okay, so as we mentioned today, we were talking about our international student group, and the commitment I would like to make is working on this project until we see it through and until it's fully set up and functioning. That's the commitment that I would like to make, yeah.
Lovely. Thank you. One more. Anybody else? Up there, over there.
Okay, one major lesson, and it's been discussed, is to clean up the database that we have and connect better with the alumni at the level of the heart first before we start asking them for money.
Lovely. Lovely. Thank you. All right. One last one. Anybody else? Oh, I see a hand right over there. I think we have a microphone coming to you right now.
I'm Becca. I've spoken a few times. I think everyone's heard me at some point of this Congress. Something that I think I've learnt a lot is that we've really found how important connection between national committees is this Congress. So I'm really committed to, between now and the next Congress, making sure there's more spaces than just the Congress for us to be able to connect, share our learnings, and continue to grow together.
Woo. Lovely. Thank you. So we'll leave you up. We have one more over there, and then we're going to hand off to Faith.
My commitment, although I know it's going to be extra work and many hours, and I hope I can do it, is to continue and expand the initiative of alumni in support of the Palestinian students currently attending the UWCs and expanding it to all our students who come from war zones and cannot return either for winter or for summer at their homes. So I hope that along with all the schools and the national committees that we will be able to raise enough funds and find the ways to make these students find a real family amongst our international community and not feel alone in these moments of crisis.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. We hope you keep your commitments, and we look forward to seeing you soon. Faith?
Assalamu alaikum, adab. My name is Zarmeena Ansari, otherwise known as Meeni, and I'm an architect. I have a specialization in cultural tourism consulting, but for the last 10 years I run an organization that I founded called the Joy of Urdu to promote Urdu language and literature, to bring the joy to not only people like myself who haven't really studied it, but our children and third culture kids living abroad. I went to Pearson College from 1986 to 88, and I came back and fought really hard to be a graduate on the selection process. So I stayed working with the selections for about 10 years, and now of course the selections are done by alumni, which is wonderful. When I give a talk about Joy of Urdu at a conference, at a literary festival, I always start with UWC. And at that time I was the unusual candidate or student in my class from Pakistan who was the daughter of a single working mom. And I knew that this kind of education or this opportunity wasn't going to come again. Barely 15, 16, arriving in Canada thinking that I am like so good at English literature and so good at this class. We didn't have internet, we didn't have WhatsApp calls. I had one call from my mother once a month, which was an operator assisted call. All of these experiences helped me found this organization that I'm working in today. And what I'm doing right now is directly connected to my experience at UWC. So the UWCs are so unique that when somebody says they went to UWC, you've already crossed many barriers. You have that instant connection. I wonder if I would feel as strongly about the activism that I do, or the things that I worry about, if it were not my connections and friendships with people who are from there.
Well, the end of 2 days, the end of 6 months, the beginning of the next 6 years. I'd like to thank you, first of all, for all the outstanding work that each of you has contributed towards the shaping of our work by spending this time together in your online rooms, here in person, just focusing on education as a force. At our opening plenary session yesterday, I spoke to you about the urgency of the next 6 years. I told you that so much is riding on the outcomes of the discussions of these 2 days. I also promised to share some ideas with you about what our future direction might look like, especially as we come out of this Congress and go back into our communities and think about the people who have not been here and how we can bring them along in our collective journey. I get a lot of questions on a daily basis. And the most popular question I get is, Faith, where is UWC going? It's because we're all very deeply invested in understanding the future of the UWC movement and the fulfillment of our mission, how we can do much more than what we have done so far. It's because we're all interested in knowing if we are truly having impact and how we can continue to have even greater impact in the world. I think it's because we're curious about how UWC can make the greatest possible difference in the world, especially on the topics that matter the most to us, the topics that are directly linked to our mission, peace and sustainability, but also on various other topics in the world. And so the question is, where is UWC going? As we envision the state of the world by 2030, we're challenged and we're driven to ponder on the nature of global peace and conflict by the end of this decade and beyond. Will we continue to see acts of genocide in the world as we see today? Or will we make any progress towards truly leaning into understanding how to coexist as a society? We question the possibility of attaining the SDGs, and as we heard this morning, it's going to be very hard to truly eradicate poverty, to restore human dignity, to protect the planet. But we must not give up, because education can be a force to unite people, nations, and cultures for peace and a sustainable future. We wonder about how to shrink and how to see solutions come to help us bridge this widening gap between the ultra-wealthy and those who are disenfranchised. And so the question is, what role can UWC play in making all these things possible? In the 1960s, the founders of our movement were very, very bold and very ambitious in envisioning a world that will be built around international and intercultural understanding and cooperation. Those ideals are still under-leveraged in the world today. And we look at the magnitude of the scales of challenges around us. I believe we have a great challenge, and we have an opportunity to dream again about the influence that the United World Colleges can have, and as a global community, what we can do together in shaping the world around us. And to do this, as a movement, we have to begin by clearly understanding our strengths, identifying our opportunities, and moving forward with clarity of purpose. Today, we have 18 UWCs around the world. We have an extensive network of alumni, I believe well over 70,000. We have a highly motivated global volunteer corps, our national committee system. We can't do anything without you. We have passionate educators. We have staff members who will go all day, all night for the cause they believe in. These people more than teach a curriculum. They shape the UWC mission in ways most of us can never really understand. This movement has had a very, very long history of leadership from global figures, from thought leaders, from education experts, across our governance structures, across the leadership of our schools, across our alumni community, across our passionate donors, across our ambassadors, our parent network, our volunteers. We are blessed with people who lead with conviction. We have built some very strong partnerships. We have some very important affiliations with governments, national and regional, with multilateral organizations, with education bodies, humanitarian organizations, and all kinds of mission-driven entities. The UWC movement has earned recognition nationally, globally, locally for the work that we do in building peace-based education, our environmental focus, our education innovation, and more importantly, the excellence of our students. With all of these things behind us, somehow UWC remains a latent force. There is so much more that we can do, and there is so much more that we will do. And so I turn to you and I ask you, what role will you play in shaping the future of our world under this broad mission? As we go forward between now and 2030, it is up to us to strengthen the core of what we do now and to stimulate progress in the other areas that are important to us. So how can we leverage this great history that we've got? How can we build on our legacy, our innovative spirit, the strengths and the assets that we have accumulated? How can we use all of this for even greater impact in the world? I think about young people in parts of the world right now where it's extremely difficult to get out because of the climate crisis. By the time we come together by 2030, how many islands in the Pacific will be completely underwater? And what might we do to reflect the voices of those young people in our communities clearly today? There is so much ahead of us. I think about the roles of our schools and colleges and how this can become true laboratories of learning. Because what we do in UWC is not just for UWC. We have a solemn obligation to share the best of what we've got with those who don't have access to it. I think about privilege and what you do with privilege. the UWC movement is an extremely privileged movement. And my firm belief that what you do with privilege, the price you pay for the success you've had, is to do even bigger and bolder things. So between now and 2030, let us dream big. Let's dream very, very big. We have all the wind in our sails. We've got a long way to go, and I believe we're going to do it. So 2030 is upon us in just 6 years. When we come together again in another Congress, what stories will we share? What results will we celebrate? And what new dreams will we dream again? Ponder upon that as we prepare for our closing event, our gala dinner, to celebrate 60 years of the UWC movement and to dream again together about where we go from here. So thank you all so much for your compliment this last 2 days, this last 6 months. It's been amazing, but we have a long way to go. So it's my pleasure to formally declare the 2024 UWC International Congress closed. Thank you all so much. So just some last announcements about where we go from here. For those who are residing next door at Tanyapura Hotel, the buses to the gala dinner leave at 6:15 p.m. For those who are at Angsana Hotel, the buses leave in 10 minutes. So I invite you to file out in one quick line towards the exit. When we get out of here, we're going to move in one quick line all the way to the parking lot. Have a fantastic evening, and see you at the gala dinner, every single one of you. Have a lovely evening.
Hello, my name is Rima Rao, and I am an English B teacher from the United World College of the Adriatic. I also teach Russian literature and am head of the languages. I come from Latvia, and now I'm Latvian Italian, the country of my choice, the country of my heart, Italy. My relationship with the UWC is very much started by chance, because somebody brought a Guardian where there was this advertisement, and I read it and I thought, no, they will never have me, but let me try. So they invited me for the interview, and that's how my love affair with the UWC started. I can't talk about the impact of UWC on my life, because it is my life. After all those years here, extremely grateful to the UWC for giving me the opportunity to meet so many wonderful people from all over the world, to share things with them, and to learn myself, a never stopping, never ending process of learning. It will take me 2 hours to go through the short list of the most important experiences. They are numerous, they are wonderful. So what I would like to say, rather wish you all to have
UWC RCN, Nordic National Committees,
pass through your UWC experience at least half as rewarding as it has been for me. Thank you.
Is there